Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Meeple University. We are excited for this review video. This is the newest Uwe Rosenberg's, or one of the newest Uwe Rosenberg's games, Atiwa. So this is about Fruit Bat. And it feels a bit like beep. We'll tell you all about it. We're gonna give you the overview first and then what we think of it.
Indeed. So this is, it's an Uwe Rosenberg worker placement farming game.
What is the theme, Tarrant?
So in this instance, we are farming in the Atiwa region of Ghana.
Ghana in
Central to Western Africa. And so in the spirit of many of these games, you are trying to build up your farming and village area in order to earn points. Now, in this one, as in many cases, you've got breeding and you've got everything being in balance. So you start with this one little village and you'll either go out exploring and finding more terrains that you can add to your tableau, or you can buy new towns and settlements and build houses. Because a major part of the points is going to be about building the human settlements here and getting all of these family tiles out onto the board. You can also bring in wild animals, trees. Trees will grow fruit. Fruit will interact with fruit bats. So there's lots of different things that you can bring in. Essentially, it plays over 7 rounds, and you'll do worker placement on all of these different worker placement spaces. And these will allow you to gain resources, mostly from these tracks on your board. But in the case of gold and fruit bats, take them from the display up there. And then they have to go onto a space on a card that shows the matching icon. And so your major reason for expanding is to have enough space to place all of the goodies that you're going to be collecting. At the end of each turn, or at the end of each round, that's when things start to propagate. So your wild animals, depending on how many you've got, will produce trees. You see there's numbers under here. Once you've got 3, they'll start to produce trees. Trees, based on how many you've got, will produce fruit. Fruit, based on how many you've got, will bring fruit bats in. And fruit bats, at the end of each turn, they can go. They can fly away with your fruit and plant the seeds, so they'll come back with more trees.
Thematically,
so it sort of
correct.
All propagates there.
And all the cycle of life.
You can also bring in goats, so these are a bit more domesticated, and you'll milk them to get food, because ultimately you have to feed all of the families in your houses, and you can do that with the milk or by spending fruit or animals, or even buying food with gold.
It really is a circle of life, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because you've got to try to strike a balance between keeping everything in balance and getting the most points, which might involve taking it out of balance at the very end of the game. And if the families and feeding them are worth more points, then maybe some of the balance you've set up early in the game, you break that. Game plays over 7 rounds, and whoever gets the most points wins.
There are lots of worker placement places there. As you can see, this logo means that you can place a worker. Also above that, on the right hand side, it's different depending on the number of players, and the way you track your round is you move this, and hence the worker placement space. This gets placed randomly at the start of the game. So this track's number 4, this track number 5. It also reminds you of how many numbers of certain things needed to actually breed. So let's say, for example, 7 families will give you 1 family, 2 wild animals will give you 1, and 2 goats will give you 1.
Yes. So
those differs from round to round. This is actually the one that you basically want to probably get towards kind of like mid to the end. It costs quite a lot to get the tiles, but the tiles worth points, as you can see it here, from 3 to 13. While this top one might be good at the start and it might combo with certain actions, but they're not worth points, a lot of points, if any. Some of them actually worth negative points.
Yeah.
It's kind of like for maybe more for engine building, or maybe for, oh no, I need more space, and so on.
I think we've covered the basics of the game. There is a removable board section here and this is what scales the player count. So fewer action spaces at 2 players, going up to more at 3, and then eventually 4.
So those points are coming from, as I say, this, that, and the thing that gets uncovered at the end of the game. So there's little points, like little numbers at the bottom of the icons. That's the points you get. So for example, if you manage to have all 25 villagers, family, then you get 25 points for that. This is worth maximum 6 points, and so on.
Yes.
So, what do we think? What do you think,
What do you
Taryn?
think?
I go first. It reminds me first before playing like Agricola, which it is to a certain point, but then again, I think, as Taryn mentioned as well when we play, it feels a little bit like Feast for Odin light. So it's not as heavy as Feast for Odin. It doesn't have that Tetris style placement that I least like, that I'm usually having a little bit of problems with spatial rotation in my head. So you can see there are, I don't know how many, like hundreds, not hundreds, lots of worker placement spaces. A lot of them are, maybe you can say, oh, there's a lot of them. Don't be scared, because a lot of them are pretty simple, and a lot of them are duplicating and similar with different combinations. For example, this one here, you place that, you get a 3 and fruit on your day. So when you say that it gains, most of the resources you gain it from your board. So you cannot have more. You cannot gain more than whatever it is on your board that took a while to set up. So you place it from here to here. So if you are to give it up, it will be placing from here to here. Gold is the one that is placing from the main supply to here, and the same with fruit bat, from the main supply into your board. But the rest is here. So with that in mind, so these are basically gaining or losing or paying. This one is flipping. So your untrained family is actually worth polluting the area, and it takes an action to actually flip it, and hence you can also store your fruit bat on that same tile. And this is thematically, I have to mention, this game, I think most of Uwe Rosenberg's game is thematically as well, like rich thematically in the not just the mechanic. So as you also remember probably in his games, Feed Your Meeples, which you don't particularly like.
I've gotten over it, although I don't see it that much these days, having to... this isn't the case where you're getting more actions and then having to feed them. It's more a case where you're getting more...
gold at the end of the round.
Yeah, it's an income.
Income at the...
And points, ultimately.
That's correct. Thematically, is trained family could not eat bat. So this is actually the issue with fruit bat. It's getting endangered. People are getting it for food, for the meat, and so on, while there's a deforestation issue in Africa, where the fruit bat has an important role in planting all the forests, like taking the fruits. This is like all connected, all very thematic. And in this instance, the untrained family could eat the bat as part of their food, which is thematically correct. Like, or they untrained, they could do that. They could close. You can you draw a token at the end of the round as part of income. You can get gold, but essentially you get pollution. So you polluted your village from left to right. So those tokens gets to be placed there, for example. Has to be from left to right. Yep. And it was very thematic. And look at this, right? So wild animals could provide with food, and then the trees will generate fruit. If we have fruit, that will make the fruit bat to come, and then
the goats.
That's right, and then the goats provide milk and also provide food for the family, and so on. And fruit bat, as you said as well, Taryn, it can go away with the fruit and then plant more trees. So it's all very thematic. I really like that part, and feels like you are trying to have these farms, trying to plant trees, make fruits and make the fruit bat everywhere, and then also build your village.
Yeah, there's lots of ways of making everything propagate. And there's an interesting puzzle in the game of
Oh,
doing
yes.
that in the most efficient way, because the further you are down the end of each of these tracks, the more income that you get. But then if you hit the end of the track, you stop getting anything. And if you run out of space on cards to put stuff, then you stop getting anything. So it's an interesting little puzzle to think through from that standpoint. And I think that was the interesting part about the game.
What I think though, it's like more like a Feast for Odin rather than Agricola, because the worker placement is not that blocky, especially in 2-player accounts. In higher player accounts, it becomes a little bit more tight. So it's one of those worker placement that you don't have to, okay, which one do I really need to go first? Maybe you will because there are some kind of like better actions on the right hand side here. But it's more like, okay, which combination that I want to go first that would benefit me most compared to what you think opponent will go first. I mean, there are these things as well that, price more expensive if you don't go first. But it's not that blocky, which I actually quite enjoy in this game.
Yeah.
With, not too frustrating worker placement, but still there are this individual puzzle in this board that you need to solve, as you said as well.
Yeah. And conversely, that to me is the game's biggest downside.
Right.
I think, I often kind of make a joke about Feast for Odin that it's a game with 60 action spaces. It's you can almost do your own thing, and at least if you're playing with 4 players, there'll be a bit of competition. If you're playing at a lower player count, you can kind of do your own thing and never see each other's meeples. And this is almost more extreme than that. Each player has 3 actions. I've got the 3-player board here. There's something like 32 action spaces, and a total of 9 meeples is going to go down. And for me, once you get to that stage, once there's so many excess spaces, it brings the multiplayer solitaire element of it to the extreme. And once I get to that point, I don't feel I'm making that many interesting decisions against the opponents. Certainly there was competition for this bit on the side had the most valuable actions, I think. You could do the most things at once with these ones, so there was always competition there.
But you kind of like needs to build up your belongings, your items engine first before getting the most out of it. Like this one, you get gold based on how many of these tiles with this icon you have, and then you have at least 4, you get to flip untrained family to train. One of them.
Yeah, and there's a big part of the you can fight for these cards as well, because these will have very different types of cards that will accept different types of things. Like if you want to do a lot of bats, you get a cave. It has space for 8 bats. Step kind of has 2 of everything, so it's more of a flexible type of one. But even so, there's kind of different ways to go about everything, so you're not going to get that badly. There's not one that's clearly better or worse than the other. There are some that are situational.
Or just get it randomly.
Or you can get it randomly.
But there are 6 spaces here, even for 4-player games. You can get the tile that you want. But this is really important though. You don't want to punish yourself too much to not be able to get that, hence being not efficiently getting your unable to place your resources when you get them. That's really bad.
That's your view. I would rather have some more punishing decisions to make.
Right.
That was part of the joy of Agricola, was that the resources would build up on the space and it would get more and more valuable, and sometimes you just really needed to be first player and get that big chunk of resources because you knew that it was going to be so much less efficient to get those going forward. I didn't have that feeling here. And that to me was its downside.
Speaking about Agricola, I picked this up from Essen, and they also have at the same time the Essen release all-in-one box of improved version of Agricola. It's like everything in one giant box. I was like, I would prefer Caverna, to be honest. People have got preference? Do you prefer Caverna, or you don't like that mining thing, do you? Because you can get away with that. Somebody can get away with the mining.
Not that I don't like it, but it does force a path. I do find that I do like Agricola and how tight everyone going for the same sorts of things
Right.
is. And this could be like that.
High
Everyone's
acquaintance,
kind
yeah.
of going for similar, a similar set of things, and I just wish there were more challenging choices.
All right. Well, I really enjoy it. Like, I really, really enjoy this. I really enjoy my game. The score was close. It shows like different part results in similar score. And this area, this is good. Like at first, what do you have to do that? There's a card that lets you steps which ones goes first, which is really handy. I would really recommend to use that card when you play, which Terence is going to bring.
Helper cards.
Helper cards. Yeah, the helper cards is really good because there's quite a few steps, not as many as Feast for Odins, but this is Maintenance Fest. And there's like setup and the feeding, how many, that's really handy, and how many do you need to collect to get the breeding benefit. But I think it's very enjoyable without being too frustrating. I know that you do thrive in more tight, more frustrating. You like things get more frustrating. So I really like, if you like Feast for Odin, you probably like this one without the special rotation Tetris thing that I don't prefer. So that's really good.
Yeah. And I think, considering it as Feast for Odin Light, I think it is a good comparison because you do have things that combo with each other. You do need to create space for things. You do need to plan your sequence of things well. And there's a number of different ways you can go about it.
Have you played a Feast for Odin? What do you think of that? We actually have how to play video for that one as well. So check it out if you want to see or refresh how it plays. But yeah, I really want to play this again, like immediately after I finished. It was a bit late at night at one stage, and then the other stage, like people are leaving. So so I would definitely recommend this.
There are plenty of, I say it is a fairly multiplayer solitaire sort of thing. There's a lot of games like that on the market at the moment. It is a popular style of thing. So just, not for me, but
yeah,
it is a very good example in that.
It is
style.
definitely for me. So we don't always agree, but that is okay. But Terence said that he would play it again, as long as higher player counts. So this is also placed randomly, and there's different type of terrain tiles, but a lot of them are quite similar though. They're not like that big difference. Like there's one that's focused more on the trees.
This one's trees, but it lets you put bats in trees.
That's right. That's
quite
good.
nice. It does actually. It'll drive your strategy. It's kind of like the cards
That's
you draft in Agricola. I think like you
Yeah.
get these and it will drive you in a slightly different direction.
Well,
which
this one's-
a lot of Uwe's games will do.
Well, this one's similar. Like one stack has got a few, and but they all are the same cards and exactly the same thing. So that's basically it. I really thoroughly enjoy this game. Hopefully you would find this enjoyable as well, but I won't blame you if you don't think that it's your type of game. And hopefully this has been useful. If you think that it has somehow, it will be really helpful if you can please hit the like button and subscribe to us if you haven't already done so. We do videos like this, how to play, playthrough and so on. I'm also on Instagram. Find me there as well, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!